greatest damn show on YouTube.
Sound like everything. Oh, man. Double tap the screen, shut a live out. What we doing tonight, chat? What we doing tonight, chat? We got land lives in the Nobel Peace Prize. We got Trump set to meet Zelensky on Monday. We got New Orleans mayor indicted by the feds, man. Double tap the screen, shut a live out, man. I know y'all didn't catch me on the daytime episode, but Plug is in the building for the nighttime episode, man. Do-rag Plug in the building, man. Double tap the screen, shut a live out. La, what it do? You got them plain legs. OG Yosemite, what it do? What we doing tonight, chat? Big Niche, what going on? What going on? La. Hey, man, double tap the screen, shut a live out, man. I don't care if you far left, far right, liberal, conservative, Marxist, fascist. I don't care if you a centrist, independent. I don't care if you had a good week, a good night, a good damn fight. I don't care if you don't like me tonight. Get your ass in here, man. And we got the phone lines open. Double tap the screen, shut a live out. I should be looking a little clearer in here, chat. I'm not gonna lie. I switched the bit rate on my stream and shit. I told y'all I've been trying to get the quality. Hey, man, I should be looking a little clearer, man. Press 1 if I'm looking a little clearer, man. Press 2 if I'm not looking clearer, man. Double tap the screen, shut a live out, man. Y'all know what time it is. Where that baby go there, man?
I told my niggas to mark my word, I guarantee that I'm next. I got the arms of a bodybuilder from the way that I flex. Might just hit the strip just to go blow me a check. They know what the fuck I'm on. They say they ain't got some of the best gas, they call it Southern Georgia. Chain on chain and ice on ice like Adam Sandler, I'm water boy. I know I'm all in the head. Bad bitch laying in my bed. Wait till I give her a spray. I'm a master with the head. Don't let these social fool you, these niggas broke. I know that they ain't bought it. Ain't got no car but talking shit. Okay, then little walkie talkie. I told that bitch to come home. I ain't got time for no bitch that's healing. Puff the blood, she called me daddy. And I'm screaming out no dick. I'ma make sure that she come. I'ma fuck her good with my tongue. I know the night is still young. So baby, let's get it in. I know just how she like it tonight. She spicy, she added a friend. They ain't identical, but they fuck alike. So in the bed, I call them twin. I call them twin. Bed, I call them twin. Bitch, and shoot a shoot. 1 + 1 that equal 2. What you tryna do? Go back for back, check a swoop for swoop. Either way it go, I'm on. Either way it go, I'm gone. Brody them just got like 100 on me, they tryna get them gone. What you call it, that wet? What's the name? And he put it in his song. Brody them got the purest powder, it's pink, you know this shit is strong. No diddy. I'm the type of nigga that turn my bitch up in each city. Brody cut out, we celebrating, we hit the gritty. I'm feeling like a baby, I'm trying to get that milk up out them titties. It's no question who young and the latest. If you want your bitch, then when she talking, hear her. If I want the bitch, I'm going Pittsburgh. Still her. I keep some on the side, I don't have trust in just the main bitch. Suck me up while I'm driving like damn, I'll die by this lane switch. Shit, different type of free, so we ain't never got a tussle. Throw it back like Miss London, and sum me up like be hustle. Yeah.
Oh, man, double tap the screen, shut a live out, man. Press 1 if y'all in here rocking with me on the late night, man. We about 4 minutes away from Plug After Dark. We 4 minutes away from Plug After Dark, man. Put them damn kids up, man. Put them damn kids up, man. Double tap the screen, shut a live out, man. We got land, lives, and a Nobel Peace Prize. Trump set to meet with Zelensky on Monday. So we seen Trump go out there and meet with Zelensky yesterday. Meet with Putin yesterday in Alaska, man. I told y'all, reports were coming out that Putin want that land, man. Now, it's been confirmed that Putin want, I believe, 2 parts. He wants 2 sides on the land deal to end the war. They don't want a ceasefire. They want to get the war over with, and Putin want what he want, man. Zelensky's not going to let that happen. I'm here to let y'all know that right now, that the people that are back, the countries backing Zelensky's not going to let that happen. None of those countries want Putin to get that land. So what's that mean? The war is going to continue. The war will continue. I'm calling it first before we even get into it, man. I'm calling it first, man. You say them 49ers look good tonight? I ain't see them, chat. Double tap the screen, shut a live out, man. What else do we got going on? Yeah, they want the land. Ukraine's gonna have to give up the land to save the lives on both sides. That's what this deal is being brokered. Land for lives, basically. If you want to stop bloodshed on both sides, give up that land. What else? Nobel Peace Prize. We've been hearing reports about Trump and this Nobel Peace Prize. We seen Hillary Clinton come out and say if he ended this war, that she would vote for him for the Nobel Peace Prize. They said that Trump actually called another world leader today to talk about terrorists, mentioned the Nobel Peace Prize to that other leader. We seen him kind of downplay it when he was asked about it, when Hannity, I forgot how you say his name, when he asked him about it, Trump kind of downplayed it. But they are saying that Trump is trying to get this Nobel Peace Prize, and it's like y'all see it on the thumbnail, the little recycle sign. Putin gets the land, Trump gets the Peace Prize. But Trump already said what? He stopped the 31-year war. A lot of y'all come into my chat and say, oh, Trump never ended the war. He didn't end the war. Well, he's saying he ended the 31-year war, and that should be enough to get him that Peace Prize. He's also saying that he will end this war. He's brokering this deal. Real estate deal. Trump's a real estate man. Those two pieces of Ukrainian territory in exchange to end the war is the deal that's being proposed. Zelensky will be here on Monday in the Oval Office. I want to ask the chat before we even start. We seen it last time with the reporter and J.D. Vance. It was a big spectacle that Zelensky wore his, I don't know if you call them army fatigues or whatever. He was in all black. He said that, hey, I'm a leader. My country's active at war. This is what I wear. They said it was disrespectful, disgraceful, and distasteful to wear that to the White House. So I'm asking y'all, chat, do y'all think Zelensky will wear similar fatigues to the White House, or do you think Zelensky will come in a suit this time? Y'all let me know, chat. Suit or army? Suit or army fatigues, man? Suit or army fatigues in the chat. Let me know. Another thing, we got New Orleans mayor indicted by the feds. I don't know exactly what's going on there. Somebody just sent me an article. I haven't read it, so y'all gonna get my live reaction going on with that, with the New Orleans mayor being indicted by the feds. I did hear something about they have a Category 5 hurricane that's supposed to be on the way as well. If we have enough time, we'll look into that, chat. I hope everybody's having a good night. I hope everybody can double tap their screen for me. We are 25 subscribers away from the next sub goal. I hope everybody had a really productive week. And yeah, let's get into the show. Let's get into the show. Let's see what they talking about right here.
Orlando-based newsroom for guiding you through much of the morning and afternoon. I'm Austin Westfall. I'll be on the desk with you here for the next 4 hours as we continue covering the world's top stories. A live look at the White House, where it's, well, approaching 4 p.m. in the nation's capital, approaching 1 p.m. on the West Coast. We do have a special guest in-house today, as we did yesterday as well. National security analyst and host of the Strat podcast, Hal Keer, is in studio with me. Hal, as always, it's good to see you. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for coming in. It's now been some hours removed since the big summit that we were covering yesterday. The main question, of course, is what's developed since then? What would you measure as the biggest headline that's come out since the Putin-Trump summit?
Well, Austin, the two biggest things that really jump out at me is, number one, going into the summit, President Trump had said a ceasefire was kind of his litmus for success. If we get a ceasefire in place, then it's been a successful summit. Obviously, that didn't happen. They had their closing remarks, the whole thing. So no ceasefire. And then a few hours after the summit, President Trump said, no, we're going to go for a final peace deal. Now, that's the same language that Putin has used many times. In his mind, Putin's mind, a final peace deal is that Ukraine basically gives all this territory over to Russia, and it becomes sovereign Russian territory, which is not something that works for Ukraine. It's definitely not something that works for the Europeans either. But that's not, I'm not saying that President Trump talked about trading terrain or trading land. He didn't do that yesterday. But he did switch our U.S. policy from being an immediate ceasefire to a final peace deal.
So they said that y'all heard that Trump switched his policy from a ceasefire to an immediate peace deal. OG Yosemite says he thinks that Zelensky is gonna come and dressed in fatigues, black jeans, and boots. He coming ready for war against all odds, man. Against all odds, man.
The first thing that jumps out. The second thing is that he did have that long phone call with President Zelensky after this took place while he was on Air Force One. I was reportedly about an hour. He had a full hour and a half phone call. They brought in a bunch of European leaders to include the head of NATO and the European Union as well. And he talked for about an hour and a half. That's a really long phone call, explaining what happened at that meeting. Now, that's pretty long when you consider the meeting itself was only about 2.5 hours. And out of that, President Zelensky is going to fly to Washington, D.C. He'll be there Monday, where he is going to meet with President Trump at the White House. And I think we all hope this meeting will go a lot better than the last time he was in Washington, D.C. and met with President Trump in the White House. We all recall what happened then.
Still no word on any progress toward a Putin-Zelensky meeting?
You know, that's really, there was some language today that was coming out that sounds like they may try to put together a summit, and it may involve President Trump there with them. You know, first thing is, real estate law, location. Where will it be held? You know, the only thing we've heard was actually something where Putin was speaking in Russian, and then at the very end of that press briefing, if you will, he turned around and spoke in English and talked about maybe holding the next meeting in Moscow. Well, first off, that's not going to happen. Moscow is the capital of a combatant nation, Russia. And I can tell you this, President Putin is not going to fly to Kyiv to meet with President Zelensky, because Kyiv is the other capital of two combatant nations. Literally, either country could shoot the other president out of the air, and they would be in compliance with the international laws of war, because he's...
Right, that's what I was telling y'all yesterday. Like, Zelensky's not going into Moscow. They won't let Zelensky walk into Moscow and walk out the same way. Either it's going to be remember Zelensky, or it's going to be Zelensky in jail for war crimes. Vice versa, man. They're not going to let Putin just run off in Kyiv, man. That shit was just, something to sound good. Camaraderie, maybe.
These are two warring countries, all right? So those two places...
I do want to see Putin and Zelensky face to face, though. I would like to see that. Putin, Zelensky, and Trump all, sitting down. I do want to see that.
They're off the table. Could they meet in the United States? I mean, it's possible they could. I don't rule anything out. The Alaska decision was kind of a surprise. More likely, probably somewhere Turkey, United Arab Emirates, Doha. My understanding is that President Trump isn't particularly enthusiastic about going back for another big meeting in the Middle East, but for something like this, he may do that. And I would point out, though, with that International Criminal Court arrest warrant for Putin, that definitely limits the number of venues where they possibly could meet, because there's a number of countries that do host events like this all the time, and literally they would be compelled to arrest Putin the moment he stepped foot in their country.
So, Hal, in front of me, I have a statement from Zelensky on Twitter. It's a little bit lengthy. I'm going to read it out. It says...
That's crazy. He's the leader of his country, can go, to these other places as long as they don't have the extradition, handle business on the highest level with other global leaders. But if he steps foot on the wrong piece of grass, his ass grass, he will be tried for war crimes as an international criminal. Crazy. Vice versa with Zelensky.
We had a long and substantive conversation with @POTUS with Trump. We started with one-on-one talks before inviting European leaders to join us. This call lasted for more than an hour and a half, including about an hour of our bilateral conversation with Trump. Ukraine reaffirms its readiness to work with maximum effort to achieve peace. President Trump informed about his meeting with the Russian leader and the main points of their discussion. It is important that America's strength has an impact on the development of the situation. We support President Trump, his proposal for a trilateral meeting between Ukraine, the USA, and Russia. Ukraine emphasizes that key issues can be discussed at the level of leaders, and a trilateral format is suitable for this. On Monday, I will meet with President Trump in D.C. to discuss all of the details regarding ending the killing and the war. I'm grateful for the invitation. It is important that Europeans are involved at every stage to ensure reliable security guarantees together with America. We also discussed positive signals from the American side regarding participation in guaranteeing Ukraine's security. We continue to coordinate our positions with all partners. I thank everyone who is helping. One thing stuck out to me here, Hal. Zelensky says that President Trump informed him about his meeting with Russian leaders and the main points of their discussion. At this hour, have we gotten any clarity about the main points that were?
If Ukraine takes the deal, it's like shit. Putin gonna have the land. Obviously, he gonna have the resources because he's gonna get those 2 chunks of land that he really wants. Now, as far as bleeding the rest of the country of its recess, I don't know, because this was the last video uploaded. Pasha, this was the last video uploaded
During the meeting and the main sticking points?
Not really. We had a little bit that came out of the press, out of the summit, if you will, at that press briefing. There's been a few things said since, but it's really not clear. It's kind of vague. It's like there's some things we agree on, and then there's a couple of main points, which sound like it may be more than 2 points that they disagree on. Of course, the big one, and I think the big one that President Trump was probably referring to, although he didn't say it by name, was probably the deal with land. Who would control what land? And Russia went into this, and there's nothing to say that Russia left with any difference, that they didn't want to take over, the 4 contested oblasts, where they control most of the land, but not all the land. They would certainly like to see Ukraine pull back and just hand those things over. And oblast means province. That's a regional area within Ukraine. He would like to see Ukraine just hand those over. Ukraine is not going to hand over sovereign Ukrainian territory, particular territory that they have, literally shed a tremendous amount of blood defending. The other thing, too, is the terrain that Ukraine controls in those territories.
That's what I was saying at the beginning of this. Like, they're not gonna, Zelensky's not finna give up that land. Putin's not gonna stop the war without the land. So we just finna revisit the situation. We heard Trump say what about it? It's cool for about 3 weeks. We'll revisit in about 2-3 weeks or so. Well, 2-3 weeks from now is gonna be thousands and thousands of more bodies dead because Zelensky's not finna give up that land and Putin's not finna, make any concessions. Like shit, that's what he wants, and Zelensky's not gonna give it up. So the war will continue. That's what I'm getting from this. The war will continue. We'll find out for sure on Monday in the Oval Office, but it's looking like the war will continue.
Is key terrain. That's defensible terrain. That's terrain where they can sit there.
Because you got to think, it's like Ukraine's the only country that doesn't win in that situation. Like Ukraine wins by saving their people from stopping dying, but they lose territories. Russia gains territories. Trump, America ain't got to worry about the war no more funding it, but Trump also would secure the Nobel Peace Prize. We just heard Hillary say if he ends this war, she'll even vote for him. We already know Trump wants that peace prize. But thank you, OG Yosemite, for the $10 super sticker. Appreciate that $10 super sticker, OG Yosemite. Y'all get OG Yosemite some likes on that super sticker, man. Flames in the chat for OG Yosemite, man. Y'all, hold on. I gotta make sure my mic is loud enough for y'all. I had to turn my mic up for y'all. But yeah, the war is gonna keep going. Why should anybody have land that's not rightfully theirs? I'm gonna keep it real. I'm not saying that they should or shouldn't. I'm just here to state like my opinion on what's gonna go on. I'm not saying that Ukraine should secede the land, should give the land up, but how much longer can they fight it? They've been fighting it a long time. Putin's been fighting it a long time. This war been going on for some years now. Trump's on the timeline. He trying to get that Nobel Peace Prize too. The only country that does not come out a winner in this is Ukraine. It's gonna be Ukraine. Shit crazy. You said as long as nuclear weapons are not used, it's a stalemate. Yeah, and it's gonna be like that. It's gonna be what are they calling it? A money funneling operation. I mean, it's money gonna keep getting shots thrown everywhere. Trump said that he's not giving Ukraine anything, though. He's selling them these weapons. Trump said that all the weapons that he's sending to Ukraine, as of now, he's selling it to them. Say Ukraine's drafting 40-year-olds. I heard they're picking people up off the streets. War's a money game and Ukraine don't have it. That's the thing, though. Well, it's a difference when Ukraine don't have it, but they have a leader that has incentive to keep the war going. You got to think, like, if Zelensky, when the war ends, they probably gonna hold an election. Y'all remember Trump talking about having elections over there. He was basically trying to force Ukraine to have an election, right? So after the election, Zelensky ass probably gonna be out of there. Zelensky might be trying for war crimes somewhere in this world. Just like they saying they want Putin for international crimes, I'm pretty sure some people that want Zelensky for some international crimes too somewhere. We know Putin wants Zelensky bad. So if they run out of, if Zelensky has a lot of incentive to keep this war going. I mean, not saying that he wants people to, die, but it's like, shit, he got a lot on his plate. After the war, he's out of office, he's no longer president, and then the shit, they probably gonna be trying to get him for war crimes, man. I have a quick question. War's a money grain, Ukraine don't have it. Why should anybody have land that is not rightfully theirs? I mean, wouldn't you want to protect your people and your land? Yeah, of course. I'm not saying Zelensky's wrong. That's what I'm telling y'all. Like, I'm not saying Zelensky's wrong for what he's doing. I'm stating the facts. Once the war ends, they're going to have elections. Zelensky's probably going to be out, especially if it's not going too good. After the war, Zelensky, there are places that want Zelensky. They want him just like they want Putin. So I'm here to say that the war is not finna end. Somebody in the comments said, war is a money game, Ukraine don't have war. I'm here to say, shit, Zelensky gonna fight this thing tooth and nail. You don't think Zelensky going nowhere, Dorsey? I don't know, man. They might have turned the tide on Zelensky. I know when Trump was running, talking about holding those special elections, Zelensky, his ratings were way down then. They might have came up over time, but back right then, they were saying Zelensky ass was out. Yeah, call in, Dorsey.
Good afternoon. What's going on?
What it do, Dorsey? How you feeling about it? You don't think Zelensky going nowhere?
No, man. That man ain't going nowhere, man. That man a dictator. Dictators don't go nowhere.
What I'm saying
So
is,
he there till the wheels fall off.
that's what I'm telling you is Zelensky, they supposed to hold an election. They were trying to have a special election during a ceasefire. That's why they wasn't pushing the ceasefire at the beginning. You don't remember Trump calling for Ukraine to hold elections?
Well, understand this. If I'm Zelensky, I'm like, look, man, for the sake of safety, I cannot have the public gathering in one place to get killed. So we're gonna postpone these. We're gonna postpone these elections till a safer time.
I'm talking about after the war ends. That's what I'm saying. If the war is ended, they're gonna be pushing for elections. I think they in a. Let me see, man. Let's see. Let's look it up.
How long did the Vietnam War last?
How long, Presidential
years, right?
elections were presidential elections were scheduled to be held in Ukraine in March or April 2024. However, martial law has been in effect since 24 February 22 in response to the Russian invasion. That's what I'm telling you. Like, shit, they in martial law right now. They can't hold an election because it's martial law. It was already supposed to have been an election. So once this war over with, they're gonna hold elections. Or are you thinking hold on, let me finish the question. Do you think, I'm saying after the war is over with, they have to have elections? Or are you saying that since his martial law has been enacted, he's not gonna leave power?
Nah, he's not gonna leave power. You know, do you know who Tito was?
Nah.
Rustam Tito? Yeah, he's the dude who kept Yugoslavia together when Nazis and so forth, when Germany was going against Yugoslavia, right? So he brought a fraction, he brought everybody together, and without him, everybody would just go at each other's throats, and the whole union would fall apart. In fact, when he died, everybody, it went to different nations. They broke apart and so forth because the greater Yugoslavia was no longer around. It was Zelensky. If you got half your people talking about they want to go to Russia, and you got the other half talking about they want to stay independent of Russia, well, those who are the minority, the ones who say they want to get back with Russia, no, he's not going to give up, because he could have gave up that land in the beginning and avoided all of this. See, you got to understand.
The whole basis on not giving up the land is that they're saying Putin won't stop. Putin wants Ukraine back. He wants the whole Ukraine back.
But you got to understand, Ukraine was not a part of Russia 400 years ago.
I understand. They saying that Putin want it all. Basically, they saying Putin trying to, hey man, he want to take over that whole part of the map.
A lot of people don't know this, but Putin ain't Russian. Putin is a Prussian. Difference?
A Persian and a Russian mix?
No, Prussian.
What the hell?
Russian,
what is
but
that?
put a P in front of it.
Yeah, but what is that?
Okay, a Prussian is a German. Have you noticed that Putin don't look like none of them? He got blonde hair, blue eyes.
Bro, do you want me to keep it real with you? I ain't gonna say this shit. I'm gonna get canceled. No, I didn't notice that he didn't look
Don't look alike. I understand.
What? Go ahead.
But they all look alike because you got to understand, Prussia is on the other side of Poland. Poland is the only thing that keeps Russia and Prussia from connecting, right? So back in the day, the Prussians, they were involved in war all the time. They were mercenaries. Back in the day with George Washington, they were called the Hessians, right? Later on, when the German Union became, Prussia was an industrial, where they made, guns and ships and everything. So they was always on a war economy. So World War I, they made money. World War II, they made money.
All right, here we go.
Prussia
Hold on, I'm finna get him some context. It said Prussia was declared its own kingdom outside the boundaries of the Holy Roman Empire in 1701. Out of deference to the Holy Roman Empire, who the Prussian king nominally held allegiance to, Prussia's monarch secured the title King in Prussia. The odd coinage stemmed from a tradition of the Holy Roman Empire not allowing for the rank of the king among the empire's constituent states. As a result, the Hohenzollern ruler was styled Elector of Brandenburg inside the empire and King of Prussia outside of it. So they saying the Congress of Vienna and the German Confederation, like most of Europe, Prussia was rocked by French Emperor Napoleon I as he stormed across the continent, capturing some territories of Prussia and gained during the partitions of Poland.
Keep going.
Prussia cemented its status as a major European power. However, when the Congress of Vienna in 1815 returned the lands returned the lands Napoleon had captured. Prussia also benefited from another result of the Congress of Vienna, the German Confederation. The loose affiliation of German-speaking city-states did not include Prussia, but Prussia exerted its influence over the region. Prussia established a trade union with the Confederate States that excluded Austria, allowing Prussia to edge out its rival and become the dominant German-speaking state in the region. Soon afterward, Prussian King Frederick William III decreed a union of the kingdom's major Protestant denominations, Lutherans and Reformed Calvinists, into ZELENSKY, the name under which a vast majority of today's Protestants in Germany will be found. Before then, most Prussian commoners were Lutherans, but the Hohenzollerns, as much of nobility, had been Calvinists since the early 1600s. Okay, is Prussia the same as Germany? Not exactly. No, here I'm reading it. Not exactly. At its peak, Prussia included half of modern Poland and all but South Germany. Though itself one of Germany's many states, the Kingdom of Prussia was comprised of West Prussia, East Prussia, Brandenburg, including Berlin, Saxony, Pomerania, Rhineland, Westphalia, non-Austrian, Silesia, Lusatia, Schleswig-Holstein, Hanover, and Hesse-Nassau. Whatever. No, after going into war with France and quickly winning, Bismarck negotiated a unified German empire in 1871. Prussia remained the dominant power in German empire until its dissolution in 1918 after World War I. So Prussia has been gone since World War I.
And on paper, right? But when Hitler came into office, saw that they could use Hitler to bring Germany back on their feet again. The Prussian industrialists, those were the people who was in the north, who were doing the shipbuilding, the steel making, all of that. They got together. Now, you know who this Braunschweigers was, right?
Hold on, Bruce. Justin. Not Justin. Is that Justin? Yeah, Justin. Listen, Justin. Don't do that tonight. Don't do that tonight, Justin. Keep going, Dorsey.
Okay, so the Braunschweigers, or the brown shirts who was with the Nazi party at the time, those were the roughnecks. Those are the ones who was out there doing the what we call the beer hall purges, right? Mm-hmm. So what would happen is they were kind of like union guys, right? But they was unemployed because of the Great Depression. So, they was always making speeches about the workers' rights. So, the workers are the ones who are the backbone of everything. They kind of like the same thing Trump talking. So, got them all stirred up. So look at the Braunschweiger like you're looking at modern-day MAGA. People with nothing to lose, right? Because they broke. So Hitler got them, and Hitler was the one who got them to go out there throughout the streets and keep up trouble and break into stores and all that kind of stuff. Now during the Great Depression, a lot of Germans had like a heritage, like the keepsakes. You know what I'm saying? So they had to go to the pawn shop and pawn some of their their family heirlooms. Like the family heirlooms. So they took it to the pawn shop and sold it to the Jews, right? So when times came back, the Jews wanted to go ahead and charge them extra, because when you go to the pawn shop, you got to pay for the interest on it, right?
Right.
And so the Germans was like, hey, man, give us a break, man. We in this together, right? But the Jews was like, nah, man, I'm in here for business, man. I'm sorry, but, you agreed to this, right? So then resentment began to fester inside the Germans toward the Jews, because they like, oh, y'all being kind of unfair about keeping our stuff. So when Hitler got into office, he told them, hey man, why don't y'all go get y'all shit, right? And that's called what is called Kristallnacht, right? The night of the broken glass, right? What the Jews did, what the Germans did, they went to the pawn shop and knocked the windows out and got their shit back, right? When Hitler seen that wasn't nobody gonna fight back, he told the bully boys, hey man, go on down the street and put them Jews in check, right? Who keeping us down? It's their fault. We broke, right? They was traitors during the war, which was untrue. But when people wanted somebody to blame, it was the Jews they blamed it on, right? Since they had all the money. So then, what happens is when Spears and the rest of the German, Prussian nobility, because they were the knights, bruh. Those was the ones who had the money, right? So they told Hitler, like, look, we gonna bring you the power. We gonna let you become the president. But what you got to do, you got to get rid of your roughnecks, because they're a threat to us. Then that's when they had the German purge.
Hold
Killed
on.
off all the.
Call in, German. You say the dude on the phone has a simplified view on 1930 Germany. Sincerely, a German. Call your German. Call in. Go ahead.
Okay,
Dorsey.
well, call in. I'm giving a simplified view because why would I go into a long-winded? Nigga, this ain't high school.
Man, just keep talking, Dorsey. I just want him to call in, because shit, if he got a better, perspective, call in here. That's one thing I want y'all to know. Hold on, Dorsey. That's one thing I want y'all to know. A lot of y'all come on this motherfucker and y'all think everybody know everything. Nah, I don't know everything. That's why I allow y'all to call in, state y'all opinions. I give my opinions. It's a lot of shit I do know a lot about. You know what I'm saying? That y'all know and I know about shit, the shit I research on. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to this, the Prussians, Zelensky, I told y'all, I'm America first. It's not our damn war, but we involved now. So, hey, this is what's going on. Putin stepped on American soil first time in 10 years. We talking about it. Right now, we got Dorsey on the phone. Me, you say you a German, you more than welcome to call in. But one thing I'm not going to do is cap to y'all like I know every fucking thing, man. Straight up. Go ahead, Dorsey.
Okay, so anyway. So, by the way, from the dude who talking, my wife is a German professor from Lingen, Germany, which is northern Germany over by Denmark. So the northern Germans don't get along with the southern Germans. Those are the people around München, the Bavarian Germans and so forth. He'll explain it to you. But anyway, back to what I'm saying. So then the Prussians became the what we call the Waffen-SS. These are the ones in the black shirt, what you call the real Nazi, the real ones who run the Nazi party, right? The people with the money. So then they became the knights. That's why Hitler gave them these little short swords, and they were all officers, and they was the SS. So then, they tied in just like now, illegal immigrants. They looked at the Jews like they were illegal immigrants, along with the gypsies, along with the homosexuals, along with the communists. So they all rounded them up and put them in camps, saying that they were enemies of the state. So then, everything went to the way it was. World War II came into brown, but the Prussians were the ones who were always making the money off the war, along with the Swiss and the United States itself. The United States was selling war supplies not only to the British, but also to the Germans through Switzerland, using gold that was stolen from the Jews. Okay?
Allegedly.
Now,
Sunset,
allegedly,
what's up, Sunset?
Okay.
Y'all double tap the screen for me, shut a live out. I think we're about 22 subscribers away from the next sub goal, man. I think we're about 22 subscribers away from the next sub goal, man. Hold on, OG Yosemite. I forgot to play your damn tag. My bad, OG Yosemite, for the super sticker.
Welcome to the greatest damn show on YouTube.
Straight up, man. Go ahead, Dorsey, but you were saying,
So when Hitler said that the ideal image of the German was blonde hair, blue eyes, he wasn't talking about the average German. The average German got mousy brown hair and it's kind of ruddy, like, kind of a little dark skin, right? Some pale face, blonde hair, blue eyes. And when I say the blonde, I'm talking about that straw blonde that straw, that blonde, that, you know what I'm saying? That white blonde type. That's what Putin is. He was a KGB agent, so he kept imperialistic type tendencies, and meaning that, you know, Greater Russia was supposed to be the one occupying everything. So, reason why Putin is so calculating and is so intelligent is because he was raised that way. They, you know, after the war, his folks went broke. His dad was like nobody. Even the nobility, hey man, you can't keep them down. Eventually, they're gonna find a way to become back in control. So that's what Putin got going on right now. So, regardless of whatever you want to say, the doctrine, the man is a true communist, right? So he believes in by any means necessary that the Communist Party should rule the world. Okay, he says he's a devout communist. He wants the Soviet Union to come back. That's why he's trying to collect Ukraine, because Ukraine has most of the manufacturing hub, where the good stuff, they was making the best of stuff before the Soviet Union broke up. That's why he wants Ukraine back. He also wants Odessa, which is a naval and a port, which is on the Black Sea, which is a warm water port, so that he can build back the Soviet Navy. Other than that, I mean, any other questions that I can give my opinion about?
Nah, not right now, Dorsey. What I was gonna say is, man, I was on here earlier, right? Since dude was talking shit in here, man, I scrolled through a damn chat earlier. They was in that motherfucker arguing about whether a cat was a woman.
A cat?
They were having a gender debate, and the gender debate was, can a cat be a woman?
I don't think so. And my whole thing, if there's only, let me ask you something. What is a bisexual?
Somebody like two genders, boys and girls.
Exactly.
Two sexes.
So it's only two genders. They set the tone from when they first gave the definition of it. They the one who came up with the bisexual.
Right, but
so
they're
that means
saying
there's only two sexes.
Yeah, we're not gonna get too far off topic, but they saying gender is a social construct. So gender is more than just sex. Sex would be male, female. Gender is a social construct. That was the debate.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's just me. I mean, it's above my pay grade.
I'm gonna say this. That's why I'm a damn centrist, right? That's why I'm a centrist, because what was it? 2016, Obama sent that damn letter out to all the schools, like, "Hey man, you gotta let these transgenders go into the bathrooms of which they identify with." Wasn't that like 2016? Obama sent that shit out.
Yeah,
he was dead ass wrong with that. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I ain't sugarcoating this shit tonight. He was dead ass wrong with that. Now, do people deserve to, not be ridiculed and harmed and harassed? Of course. Do people deserve to be able to go to Walmart and get they, have a normal life? Yes. But when it comes to, forcing like legislation down. Now we talk about Trump on the other hand with the colleges. He's stripping funding for colleges for a whole different reason. Same thing Obama was gonna do if you didn't let the transgenders go in the bathroom. That's why I tell y'all it's different issues, but it's the same tactics. It's the exact same tactics. Go ahead.
I disagree with a lot of things that Obama did, because basically what he was doing when he was being a politician, meaning he was giving everybody a little bit of something, but as far as society, we actually got nothing. Because understand this, you already have protection as a U.S. citizen against discrimination and everything else, right? Now, where I come from, if you beat up a man, he is considered a man, regardless of his sexual preference, right?
Correct.
So then he can't get no extra special treatment because he say, "Oh, he beat me up because I was a homosexual." No, bro, it don't work that way.
Oh, yes, the fuck it do. Shit, your ass going to the feds. This shit a hate crime, man. I promise you. When I was in the county jail, the LGBT community, some of them people in there, bro, will go to the store, man, right? run up a tab with the store man and run off on him and tell the store man, if you touch me, I'm going to tell on you and it's going to be a hate crime.
Yep. I seen the same thing down in Florida. I told them dudes, I was like, man, don't get that food on. But they didn't listen, so it was up to them. Then, they want to beat the dude up. The dude say, you touch me, I'm snitching, right? So then they're going to get another additional 5 years thrown onto their sentence, which is, if you're in there for a misdemeanor, you then going to push it up to a felony. So nobody really did touch him. But see, that's me. I was like, man, hey, man, rock and sock him, nigga. Rock and sock him. I got to, somebody got to.
I'm trying to get my shit together. That ain't going to push it to no felony. That shit federal.
Yeah.
That's a hate crime.
Yeah. So, if you get beat up and you're a black homosexual, they don't call it a hate crime because you was black. They call it a hate crime because you was homosexual. You understand what I'm saying? So, I don't know, man. Like I said, going back to the subject with Putin, remember, Putin don't like homosexuals. Remember, he put them in jail. You see where I'm coming from?
You can't be openly gay in Germany? I mean, in Russia?
Huh?
You can't be openly... What the hell was that?
You can't be openly gay in Russia.
But you got a little animal over there or something, nigga?
Oh, man, I got this werewolf chihuahua, man.
Check on that damn dog, man. Feed that dog. What you doing to that damn dog over there, Doris?
My dog don't like homosexuals. That's why every time I say homosexual, she started barking.
Oh, my gosh. Allegedly. All right, but go ahead. But I
So, anyway.
Man, get that dog out our ass together, man.
I got you. My dog, hey, man, y'all, my dog is political, okay? My dog is independent.
Well, you gonna have to call back when you get your dog together, because we can't hear you.
I'm good now. I stepped out. Anyway, pretty much, man, a lot of things have changed, but a lot of things are going back to being the same, the old ways.
That's what I'm saying. Go ahead.
And people are just going to have to realize, like, look, y'all going to have to adjust to this new world order that we now having, because individuality is not accepted anymore. You either get with the program or you get out.
Yeah, man, they say go check on that dog, man. Make sure that dog got some water and some food and shit, man. That dog hungry, man.
Man, that dog eat McDonald's. What's wrong with y'all, man? My dog has that what's that double cheeseburger with no cheese, no onions, and we give them the straight patties, right? Then when we go to Pollo Loco, she gets her own piece of chicken for a chihuahua, okay? Just has a loud voice.
So, have you heard about the mayor in New Orleans?
Yeah, I heard she up on corruption charges, which is probably true.
How you feeling about that, man? How do you feel about it, man? Just overall. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell and her former bodyguard Jeffrey Vapor are indicted on 18 felony counts, including conspiracy, wire fraud, obstruction of justice, and making false statements.
They shouldn't have did it. If you hadn't did the crime, they wouldn't have caught you on the crime. And that's one thing about politicians. Eventually, they get caught. As far as with the mayor, she's gonna probably resign. They're gonna give her a slap on the wrist, because really all they wanted to do was get her out of the office. It goes for all the mayors. They goes for all the DA. If you anything Democrat, they want you out of office, especially if you're a black female Democrat. Why? Because they talk too much. You know, they made you look at old girl, your own home girl in Texas, right?
Jasmine Crockett.
Right? Yeah. Understand this. You can have a debate and you can be argumentative in the debate, but you can't be blatantly rude in the debate. Because then people be like, oh, nah, ain't got no respect for her. So guess what? Now you done got enemies. Not only have you gotten enemies in the Republican Party, you also had haters on you in the Democratic Party, right?
Cause you saying why? Cause she too loud?
Check this out. As much as people say that it's a good thing, don't nobody like no loud black woman. Let's keep that shit real. Them white folks should get these sisters to do their dirty work for them. Go and tell them, girl. Go and tell them. Well, white girl, why don't you say what's on your mind? Understand what I'm saying? They always got our sisters out there on the front line, and like the sisters say, we ain't going for nobody no more. Well, when when black people get involved with things, they passionate about it, and they gonna say some things. You understand what I'm saying? But when you're in this, when you're running for politics and you're a political person, no, you can't say the same things like the person, the average Joe on the street. You got to have some kind of finessing. You have to have some kind of discernment. See, they say that the Republicans, I'm sorry, they say that the Republicans say a lot of things and so forth. They leave it open, for suggestions on what they're trying to say. They don't straight out say it. When Jasmine Coffee called the man Hot Wheels. Come on now, Jasmine. She didn't have to take it that far. You see where I'm coming from?
The thing about it is, it's like, it wasn't like she just called them Hot Wheels. It's like, shit. When I first came to Texas, that's what motherfuckers around here was calling them. I'm just being real. I didn't listen. Listen, when they was calling him Hot Wheels, I never knew he was in a wheelchair until Jasmine Crockett said it. The whole time they was calling him Hot Wheels, I thought like, damn, shit, was he like, drag racing? And we got racetracks and shit in Arkansas. Like, I didn't know why they called his ass Hot Wheels.
Well, let me ask you, what's his name? Beto or Beto? What's his name?
I don't know.
Beto. What's his name? Beto, the one who ran for Ted Cruz's office.
Okay, what about him?
Did you ever hear him call them Hot Wheels? No.
Right.
No. That's why he's leading the pack with the Democrats, because he knows discretion. Can't say everything that comes to your head, right?
Right. Beto.
Okay. Yeah, Beto. Yeah. Beto ain't resort to that type of tactics. That's why he's still in the game. You're a person that's supposed to represent the best in your state, not the worst.
They say the New Orleans mayor. They say the New Orleans mayor spent $70,000 on trips of taxpayer money. 14 out-of-state trips cost about 70 racks.
That's not nothing. That's nothing. She's allowed to make she's allowed to make trips dealing with government and being a representative of the city of New Orleans. Mayors do it all the time. Mayors even fly over to China, trying to get businesses to invest in their county or their city. You know what I'm saying? So them coming up with that, nah, it ain't gonna stick. Now, other things, now if she used any of that political money to fix up her house or buy a car,
they said
they got her.
They said that her security guard was basically off the clock. You know what I'm saying? She was in an apartment or whatever, it's paid for by the taxpayers. Her security guard said they was alone together in the apartment, paid for by the people, said they was going to wine tastings and shit together. That's
he was still the security guard at the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it don't look the optics, like I said, optics, right? Keeping with the security guard, right? But ain't that what was that? Guard with Whitney Houston and what's his name? Huh?
Oh shit!
Personal with her bodyguard, huh?
They said in 2014, a former mayor was sentenced to 10 years for bribery and money laundering and shit.
Well, yeah, that's the former mayor. That ain't got nothing to do with the present mayor.
I'm saying it's a pattern of this shit going on in New Orleans.
Look, man, the best thing I loved about New Orleans, you know what I loved about New Orleans, especially about the police, right? They too busy going to get their bribe money. They ain't got time for that petty shit. They ain't finna give you no ticket about no jaywalking. Shit, they gotta be somewhere. That's real. That's real about New Orleans, nigga. I can tell you that. I love New Orleans.
Hell yeah. Well, shit, I'm finna get back to this clip, Dorsey.
Yeah. But like I said, with the thing with Ukraine, nah, we're gonna end. As long as Putin's alive, as long as Zelensky is alive, it's never gonna end.
All right, Dorsey. Well, shit, call back in a little bit, man.
Yeah, man. Come on, German dude, whatever your name, Klaus, or whatever your name is, call in, man. We want to hear from you. All right. Thanks, G. Bye.
Somebody did just call. Y'all hear that, bro? Like, I let him get it off. I was gonna let him say it about 3 times. That 4th time, bro, I had to get him up out of there, bro. Like, y'all see how the world is, man? That shit don't bother me. I'm from Arkansas.
Fight off the Russians. If they were to pull back to the administrative borders, they would not hold the key terrain they have now. That is a very significant thing because one of the things Zelensky says, and the Europeans have said over and over again, a lasting peace. Lasting peace in this context means that Ukraine has defensible terrain. Ukraine can defend against what they fear, and everybody keeps talking about, which is a third attack, a third war with the Russians. Keep in mind, this is not the first time the Russians have gone in there to seize Ukrainian terrain. So they're very afraid that what this would be was something akin to what happened in Czechoslovakia in World War II, where Neville Chamberlain came in, negotiated with Hitler. They gave away some provinces, if you will, some areas of Czechoslovakia. And then Neville Chamberlain came out and said, peace in our time. And shortly afterwards, once they did that, the Germans went in, took all of Czechoslovakia, and then later felt so empowered they invaded Poland. What they're afraid this thing is that they will do a temporary ceasefire or peace, if you will, and then once they feel they have an advantage, go ahead and take all of Ukraine, and the next thing you know, Russia will be at war with NATO trying to take back the Baltic states. That's the fear, and that's what they're trying to prevent.
One thing that I was asking yesterday to some of our guests and analysts is, I think, still a very important question today. We were talking at length about what Trump's next steps were after.
Otto says Ukraine is winning back Crimea and holding the Eastern Front, blew up a bridge and is poised to take back the Southeastern Front without help from Trump or Putin bromance. Long live.
After the meeting with Putin, we understood that he would eventually speak with Zelensky and he would eventually speak with European leaders. What's the Putin version of that? What kind of calls does Putin make after a summit of that nature? Who's going to be his first few calls, Hal?
I don't know that Putin has to make any calls. I mean, he could call Lukashenko, if anything, just to say, hey, what did you and President Trump talk about yesterday?
Oh, yeah. Double tap the screen, shut a live out, man. We like 15 subscribers away from the next sub goal. We like 15 subs away.
Because that was kind of unusual that he did that. But I don't know that he would have to. He might call Kim Jong-un simply because Kim Jong-un has so many troops, North Korean troops are actually involved, to kind of explain to him what the situation is. But if he made any calls, the two people I'd expect him to talk to, at least one of them, certainly Foreign Minister Lavrov, was actually with him, so he didn't need to make a call for that. And then he might have made a call somewhere within the Ministry of Defense, maybe to Gerasimov or something, to kind of explain what happened. I'm not quite sure who he would talk to there, but he doesn't have to make too many calls. But that also goes to another issue, which is Putin is very isolated on the world stage. And this was a huge propaganda victory for Russia. Russia right now, all the media outlets, which are all controlled by the Russian government in Russia, are touting this and pushing it forward that, here he is on the world stage, an equal, another world leader of equal status with the President of the United States, et cetera, the red carpet treatment, all of this.
Do y'all think Putin is of equal status as Trump, man, on the world stage right now? Press 1 if y'all think he is. Press 2 if y'all do not think he is, man. Double tap the screen, shut a live out, man. Press 1 if you think Putin is on the same level as Trump on the world stage. Press 2 if you don't.
Is being pushed by Russia as a propaganda victory. So Putin kind of got what he wanted. He doesn't really have to call anybody to coordinate anything because, well, he controls the Russian forces that are there. And if he did anything, it'd be a courtesy call. But it's unlike the other situation where Trump had to call President Zelensky. We're talking about Ukraine. And he also needed to call the European leaders because they're the ones that are, backing Ukraine actually more than the United States is now. They're paying for all the U.S. arms that are going to Ukraine right now. So he had to talk to the European leaders, and he did that.
So one more thing that I'm going to be following, Hal, is whatever reaction we get from European leaders, too. I was saying, I sounded like a broken record last night, basically. I was saying one of the main things we're going to be looking for into the weekend was A, direct reaction from Zelensky, which by now we have. Mm-hmm. And then we were looking to see, kind of taking the temperature of the top brass, if you will, over in Europe. Anything sticking out to you from a France perspective, from a UK perspective, elsewhere? What are you hearing? What are you watching for there?
I'm not hearing anything definitive from France, UK, Germany yet. All right? I am hearing a number of things. The president of Poland, though, interestingly, who is very conservative, actually, interestingly, he's pro-MAGA, all right, actually came out and was very strong in his language supporting Ukraine and the importance of defending Ukraine and the importance of Europe standing behind Ukraine. And there has been that issue. Viktor Orban of Hungary, who is, close to Russia and kind of a thorn in the side, if you will, of NATO and the European Union, came out and said some things which are very, say, pro-Putin, if you will, that came out of this meeting. And he felt that Putin did very well and stuff. But the European leaders themselves, I think there's a little bit of wait and see going on. I don't think Starmer and Macron want to get too far out there until they've had a chance to, for Zelensky to sit down and talk with President Trump. And I would not be surprised if one or both of them meet with President Trump next week or shortly thereafter, since they're major stakeholders in whatever happens here.
There were a lot of conversations, Hal, about, and I got this question a lot, actually, from viewers, about our thoughts relating to the Russian president being on a U.S. military base. Now Putin has come and gone. Can you explain why that was a talker, if you will?
Well, it was very unusual. First off, these sorts of summits are almost never held on military bases. Military bases don't actually necessarily make the best backdrop for something like this. However, in this particular situation, they put this together really fast. I mean, this was within a week. And if you look at Alaska, you start running into where would you hold it in Alaska? And we ran through a couple of scenarios. Obviously they could have gone to Anchorage. Anchorage is a pretty big city. You have to do a lot of security prep work to pull something like this off. I think they said that's a bad idea. They talked about Alaska, the resort, but then again, you start to run into the airfield issue. Probably have to go up to Anchorage, and they run into the same problem they'd have there. Fairbanks, possible. But, really what it boiled down to was they're going to meet in Alaska. It's kind of a middle ground between Russia and, if you will, Russia and the United States. It is United States territory. But the area on a military base, it can control it from a security standpoint. And I think that was really the deciding factor. It had the facilities, definitely had the airfield, and they could control it from a security standpoint. And I think security was a preeminent concern with this whole thing, particularly, some concern. Obviously, they're always concerned about the security of the President of the United States, but they're also concerned to make sure that the head of state of Russia, something doesn't happen to him while he's in the United States as well. That would be a major crisis if that was to occur. So they put it on the base. Another thing that's interesting about the base, though, and everyone noted this, was all the F-22 air superiority fighters, air-to-air fighters that were all lined up. Now, they have a lot of F-22s out there, but they had them actually set up in a sort of static display. I think that was, some have interpreted that. They said, well, that's the, showing honor to the Russian president or whatever. I'm not entirely sure. I think that was to show Russia something that we like to remind them of, is that we have stuff that you don't have that's a lot better than what you have. And then you saw the F-35s and the B-2 bomber. And those are F-35s. That's a different aircraft that we fly, flying over and a flyover. That was really something. And of course, that was completely constructed. Again, they say, well, was that to show honors to the Russian president? I think it was to show American strength to the Russian president. I think there was a statement there, a very strong statement that was being made there.
What's up,
in terms
Renee?
of what we're capable of. And of course, the B-2 bomber was just recently used to on those very successful strikes in Iran. So I think there's another reason why Elmendorf Richardson, the Joint Base, actually was a pretty good venue, albeit very unusual for something like that to happen on a military base.
One thing I'm reading that's interesting in the Wall Street Journal, Hal, a headline from them says, Trump told Europeans that he's open to U.S. security guarantees in Ukraine and that Putin had accepted that peace would need to include Western troops there. Western troops there, Hal, is this a novel idea? What might that look like if it does end up coming to fruition?
Well, peacekeeping troops is not a novel idea per se. Everywhere there's been a big war, it is not uncommon that at the end of the war there's peacekeeping troops. Now, as you've seen, like southern Lebanon, they've had peacekeeping troops there forever. And when Israel went in there, you saw where...
Man, I appreciate that subscription, man. Y'all double tap the screen, shut a live out for me, man. We still like 10 subs away from the next sub goal.
Hezbollah had been setting up positions literally right outside the fence line where the UN peacekeeping troops were located. So, there's peacekeeping troops and peacekeeping troops. Really what they're talking about here are more robust troop presence. They're talking about large military units. Now, the British have already talked about putting in some sort of brigade-type formation. I've heard 2,000 to 3,000 British troops. That's not enough to stop a Russian invasion, okay? In fact, that alone would simply be if Russia was to do another attack, Britain would have a decision, which is to stand valiantly and face maybe losing that entire brigade or to pull them out. So that alone wouldn't do it. If the U.S. had troops there, that's not making, obviously, U.S., Britain, France, Germany, if they all had troops there, that's not the same thing as making Ukraine part of NATO. But if it was a large enough force, if it was integrated in with the Ukrainian defensive plan, which I'm sure it would be, and there was substantial enough troops, you're talking tens of thousands probably would have to be the component that would come from Western nations to include the United States. Well, that would be a deterrent to Russia. They would know that once they crossed that line for a third war, if you will, that they were going to be a war.
I do got the call lines open, but I got it on Do Not Disturb, man. I got it on Do Not Disturb because some of y'all ass be tripping, man. Y'all ass be tripping, man.
Or with the largest countries in Europe and with the United States, and that's a war they can't win. So, the idea of the U.S. having troops on the ground, that is a huge shift. if that is actually what they're talking about doing.
So, another headline I'm reading, you've already alluded to it, but let's expand on this. Trump seems to have dropped his Ukraine war ceasefire demand. How? This is a reversal that more aligns with Russia's plans, and it splits with European allies. What do we make of some of the language that appears to be changing, and how do we read Monday's meeting? What kind of language are you going to be listening for on Monday from Zelensky and Trump?
Well, President Zelensky was very careful in his terminology. You know, he's learned a lot of things since that first White House meeting. And I'm not saying he's a Trump whisperer per se, but he definitely has figured out there are certain things you just don't say to, about, or, you know, with President Trump. And he avoids that sort of language which could, you know, that President Trump would find rather abrasive. So he's very careful about that. Although within Kyiv, there's a certain amount of frustration. You know, this forming up this policy thing, working with the United States, trying to get this ceasefire first sort of approach, which is put a ceasefire in place, unconditional, along the current lines, no change, and then we'll go into discussions. There's a lot of reason why you want to do that. First off, you're forcing the Russians to do something that they don't really want to do, and you're forcing the Russians to hold lines, which is not their stated goal. So you're putting that in place, which, by the way, once the ceasefire is in place long enough, it becomes more difficult over time to restart the war, if you will. So that was something that they had fashioned. Putin had always said, oh, no, I want to do a comprehensive peace plan, but his peace plan, I don't know if it was a peace plan spelled P-E-A-C-E or P-I-E-C-E. His piece was he wanted to get pieces of Ukrainian terrain into Russian control without having to fight for them. And so the fear is that the U.S., in using that comprehensive peace plan language, is actually kind of going into a narrative that the Kremlin had put out, which is Ukraine hand over all these 4 oblasts that we've been fighting over. You just pull your forces out and we'll have peace. Not something Ukraine really wants to do. That's something President Zelensky can't even do under the current constitution, Ukrainian constitution. So, yeah, there's some frustration not only with Ukraine, but also with the European allies.
Okay,
that maybe our policy has slipped a little bit in terms of what we're telling the Russians.
Hal, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about some of the live images that are coming into our newsroom as we speak. This is a live vantage point from Bryant Park, or at least our understanding is that this event started at Bryant Park in New York City. Our understanding from our Fox Edge affiliates, they're calling this a Free Palestine protest. We're going to switch gears here to the Middle East, since we have this coming in now, and this is a reminder that protests still continue. I was reading a sign. By the way, viewer discretion is advised. I always got to say that. We don't know what's written on these signs. We don't know what people may say at these events. But before we go, Hal, let me just ask you about the state of the Gaza war and why we're seeing some of these protests here today. Before I got this vantage point on our screen, I saw a big sign that was speaking about the freedom of the press, about journalism, about protecting reporters. Of course, Hal, some of that rhetoric is coming in response to the killing of a prominent Al Jazeera journalist that took place earlier this week in Gaza, the IDF carrying out a strike that killed 5 Al Jazeera reporters, and I believe a 6th was a freelancer. What's the state of how the world is reacting to what's going on in Gaza, Hal? What are the main threads you're following? How not only leaders are reacting, world leaders are reacting to what's happening in Gaza, but how everyday civilians in major American metros are reacting. What are you watching and what are you reading as of late as it relates to the Middle East?
Well, obviously, what they're saying there about the journalists is the 5 Al Jazeera journalists, Al Sharif being the most notable among them, was killed, and you may recall his father had been killed as well in the fighting. So that was the big thing, and of course it gets to journalism.
So how do y'all feel about the protests, man? Do y'all feel like they should be able to protest like that? Do y'all feel like they shouldn't be able to protest like that? Put yes in the chat if they should. Put no in the chat if they shouldn't, man. I want to know how y'all feel about it. Yes in the chat if they should, no in the chat if they should, man. Double tap the screen, shut a live out. We 11 subs away from the next sub goal. Exactly 11 subs away.
Reporters or journalists are in a special status in the Geneva Convention Accords.
And I'll just say, that's him right there on the screen.
Yeah.
There were just some photos of him, but I'll let you keep going, Hal.
Okay, journalists are in a special status. And they're not, and unfortunately, journalists have been getting struck, killed on a regular basis, not just in the Middle East, but we saw the same thing up in Ukraine. But there is, there's frustration that after all this stuff has been done to try and all these negotiations with Hamas, that Israel's current plan is to militarily take over the remaining territory of Gaza and to militarily control the entire Gaza Strip, and that reports are that Israel is in talks with at least 3 or 4 different countries throughout the Middle East and North Africa about relocating most or all of the Palestinian residents of Gaza someplace else while they rebuild the Gaza Strip. The reason that's big is because under international law, under the Geneva Convention, if you displace a population of a particular location, that is considered a violation of the law of war. That is a violation of the Geneva Convention. You're not supposed to force people away from their homes. Why? Because historically speaking, that's what happened in wars. That was very common, was to do that. And this was the post-World War II move or international attempt to try and stop things like that from happening. That is what looks like is happening in the Gaza Strip right now. Also, you have Germany, France, Great Britain, Canada, all the leaders of those countries all agreeing that they're going to recognize a state of Palestine. There is no physical thing that they can point to that is a Palestinian state, but they're recognizing that. Interestingly, that's not European-wide. The Prime Minister of Denmark just today said that she is not going to recognize a Palestinian state and made it pretty clear why she thought that was a bad idea. And the United States is not going to recognize a Palestinian state anytime soon. So this is the frustration. And since there's nothing happening with the leaders that's going to make big change, you're seeing a lot of protests on the streets. You saw this heavily over in Israel, and now you're seeing it in New York, and you're going to see it obviously in other cities as well. There is a great frustration. I think there's a little bit of naivete that comes out of these things in terms of who Hamas is and what Hamas has done. I hear some things being said, which I don't know that sometimes the crowd maybe really understand the full context of what they're espousing. They're just kind of taking narratives, if you will, that were put out by, well, frankly, Hamas, if you go back historically to where they actually originated from. So I think they need to be a little cautious of what they're talking about there. But I think it's just frustration that this thing could end up with this massive military battle. Keep in mind, at least according to the Gaza Ministry of Health, which I would remind everybody is a Hamas-controlled ministry, they say over 61,000 people have been killed in this war. That's just a lot of people, no matter how you divide it. Whether you call something like that genocide, that's very much an academic debate. But that is a lot of people have been killed, and they're afraid that with this final push going into Gaza City that has over 900,000 residents, that they could see that creep up a lot faster, a lot quicker. In the background on this, though, is the head of military intelligence recently made some remarks where he talked about for every Israeli killed on October 7th, he's not advocating this per se. He's not saying this is policy, but he kind of threw out the ratio of 50 to 1, which is for every Israeli that was killed, 50.
That's crazy, chat. I'm not gonna lie, that's crazy, chat. But let me know y'all thoughts on it, man. We finna get ready to get up out of here, man. It's the second stream of the day. I am tired, chat. I'm not gonna lie. We'll be back in the morning. We will be back in the morning, man. What's tomorrow? Sunday? I might take tomorrow. I might take tomorrow off, chat. I'm not gonna lie, chat. I might just take tomorrow off. My kids started school this week, so I might just spend tomorrow with them. I might do a morning stream before they wake up. I might do a morning stream before they wake up. Good night, everybody. I'll see y'all on the next one. Oh, I got some new hotkeys. Let me see. Do I remember my hotkeys?